Hey, everybody. Sammy here with another episode of the Digital Marketing Therapy Podcast. And today we are talking about Giving Tuesday. So I know it's only October, but just bear with me. It is never too early to plan for Giving Tuesday. And as you've heard me say in a lot of these episodes, I really want to get you guys to a place where you have the ability to actually enjoy the holidays and enjoy the end of the year and still have really successful year-end campaigns and Giving Tuesday campaigns. So that's why I brought Patrick Kirby on today. He's been on the podcast before, but I'm excited to have him back today to talk with you about Giving Tuesday, ways to think about it, how to reengage with your audience. And so we have a great conversation. You might remember Patrick from episode 94, where we talked about conversations and making asks. So definitely something you'll want to revisit after this episode, after you listen to this episode. But we have a great conversation about Giving Tuesday, ways to think about the campaign, how to set your goals, and how to really take action and get the thing done. And you could even get it done right after you listen to this episode. It's pretty quick, it's down and dirty, and just kind of a great reminder of how to simplify our fundraising experiences so that you can see results and you can see growth year over year. Patrick Kirby is the founder of Do Good Better Consulting, author of the Amazon bestseller Fundraise Awesomer, a practical guide to staying sane while doing good, host of the official Do Good Better podcast, and believer that we've always done it this way is the most dangerous phrase in the English language. Patrick has spent nearly 15 years working as a fundraiser in the nonprofit industry for organizations of all shapes and sizes and strives to do good better every day. From organizing $10,000 cure walks to $1 million galas, Patrick's passion lies in creating creative solutions to make fundraising less boring. Patrick married out of his league to his wife Shannon, has 3 ridiculously adorable children named Spencer, Preston, and Willow, and lives in West Fargo, North Dakota. I love it. Another Midwesterner. I really think you guys are going to enjoy this episode. Make sure, like we mentioned at the end, that you tag us in your Giving Tuesday campaign so we can shout you out. I appreciate you all and the work that you're doing. So let's get into this episode. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by our patrons. Thank you to all of our patrons who have joined us. We so appreciate you being listeners and participating. If you want to become a patron, head on over to thefirstclick.net/Patreon, Patreon. We have some great benefits and perks for those of you that are patrons, including worksheets that help walk through the elements that you're learning about in all of our episodes. Each month we have different Q&As that are available exclusively to our patrons, discounts on our products and services, all sorts of things. So head on over, check it out, and take action on the things. Don't just listen and think, oh, that's a great idea. But when you hear an episode that's really hitting you where you are right now, it's a great way for you to then take action on it and continue to move forward in sustainability and growth in your organization. So head on over to thefirstclick.net/Patreon, check it out, but let's get into the episode. You're listening to the Digital Marketing Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Bedell-Mulhern, and each week I bring you tips from myself and other experts, as well as hot seats with small business owners and entrepreneurs to demystify digital marketing and get you on your way to generating more leads and growing your business. Hey, everybody, join me in welcoming Patrick Kirby back to the podcast. Patrick, thanks for coming back again.
I liked it so much the first time that I enthusiastically said yes for round number 2. Thanks for having me.
Yes. And we have your previous episode keyed up in the show notes, so check that out, where we talk about giving and asking for gifts. But today we're talking about Giving Tuesday.
Ooh.
Right? So I would love to just kick it off with kind of what are your thoughts, experiences, feelings, all the things around Giving Tuesday? Why do you think it's such a cool movement?
I think it's a neat movement because it rallies all of our nonprofit troops into one momentous marketing opportunity. Not a lot of times where you get everybody on the same page. Hey, let's get as many people as we possibly can to give as much money as they possibly can and do the most good in the shortest period of time. And that's why giving days in these pure forms are phenomenal. Now, there's some pitfalls you want to avoid, and there are some things that will give you a sort of a leg up on the, not competition, but a leg up on others who are sort of vying for dollars. But overall, if you've got this as part of your complete fundraising strategy to participate in something like this, you'll be really surprised at the amount of brand new names that'll sort of be added to your list, and really just sort of this wonderful, enthusiastic, momentous day that you can build upon for the rest of the year.
Yes. There's so many things that you kind of suggested in there that I'm excited about. But for people that don't know what Giving Tuesday is, before we kind of jump into that, it is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So this year that falls on November 30th. Mm-hmm. This podcast goes live on October 20th. So as this goes live, you have a little over a month to kind of get your plans in order. So that's why we wanted to put this out. But why is it not too early to start planning for Giving Tuesday? Because you mentioned pitfalls. And I think one of the biggest pitfalls is that people don't treat it with the time and energy to kind of make an impactful campaign for their organization.
Well, I think a lot of people use this as we'll just put our name out there and it'll be fun. If we get 100%. Some stuff, we'll get some stuff, right? I think and it's fine if that's what you're going to do. But to be really successful at a giving day like Giving Tuesday is you have to put some thoughtful and purposeful effort behind it. This is just another event in your arsenal. So you have to treat it like a gala or a wine event or a walk or a bowl-a-thon. You have to do some heavy lifting prior to in order to maximize your day of. So what I mean by that is it's a great time to call your donors and say thanks for all the support they've given over the past couple of months or the past year, and say, hey, we're so excited to participate this year in Giving Tuesday. It's another opportunity for those who support our organization to give as much as they can to continue the awesome programs and services that we provide. That sets you up then to make a formal ask either the day before or the day of to say, hey, listen, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier. Today's the day. We're really excited. We're going to leverage everyone in our network to give as much as they can. We hope we can count on you too. But a lot of that work happens prior to the event. If nobody knows that you're participating in Giving Tuesday, like nobody's going to give you on a Giving Tuesday. So it's like any other event. If nobody knows you're having a gala, and you come the day of the gala and say, hey, we can't wait to see you at the gala. We're like, well, I didn't get shoes and I didn't get a dress and I didn't get a babysitter and I don't have nobody is going to come. So it's the same principle that you have to treat with any other event that you have on your calendar to at least spend some time curating and building momentum so that your day of is very successful.
I agree. And one of the things that I love about Giving Tuesday is that, you work a lot with events and kind of offline giving. I work a lot in online giving, and it's one of those few things that you can do for your organization where you can encompass all of that. Like you can really have a multifaceted approach and really hit everybody where they're at. And there's not very many elements in your fundraising where you can do that.
If you wanted an inclusive campaign where everybody of any capacity can give money and resources and enthusiasm and momentum, Giving Tuesday is exactly that. Because no matter if you've got $50,000 or $50 or anything in between, you can still participate in Giving Tuesday, which means you don't have to dress up and you don't have to get a babysitter for this event. You can just do this from the comfort of your own home, own chair, on your phone, and anyone in your donor database or anyone who supports your organization can do this. And it's traditionally people who, sometimes only write checks, or maybe it's somebody who just finds you on the internet and finds your story very compelling. This is a time where anybody can be a donor and a supporter of your organization.
Yeah. So let's talk about your existing donor base. And let's talk about specifically maybe your lapsed donors. So how could people maybe use Giving Tuesday? Because you talked about, the beauty of this, I think, is it's more about the masses coming together and giving whatever they can, as opposed to like going out and asking for those, $5, $10, $100,000 gifts, right? So how could this be a great way to reengage lapsed donors?
Well, that's exactly where you want to use this event as an opportunity. You want to take a look at your year of giving, and you want to compare it to last year's year of giving. And you want to find the donors who haven't given to you this year, but have given to you in previous years, your last year, but not this year donors. If you're a fundraising dork like I am, they'll probably come up in conversations like a Libent list, but it's your last year, but not this year donors. So anyone who hasn't given to you this year, it's a wonderful opportunity to say, hey, we miss you. We love you. And here's a wonderful opportunity for you to give to your favorite cause of us in a really convenient and easy and safe way. This gives you an excuse to reach out to individuals who you haven't heard from in a while. And it gives you some momentum to help build the conversations. So what you don't want to do is just go in cold. Hey, can you give us money? That's not the bit, right?
Right.
We don't even know why they stopped giving you or forgot to give you in the first place. So this is why it's so important to go back to our previous bit of a conversation was you have to do some research and some digging and some touch points prior to this event to figure out where they went, why they stopped giving. Did you reach out and say thank you? Did you talk to them about the impact that their gifts have made over the last year? And are they interested in continuing that support? So that's your first line of order. And now that you've got that at least connection in, now you can set the table up for saying, hey, if you're considering giving again this year, we've got a wonderful opportunity. We're participating in Giving Tuesday. And that gives you, again, the reason to pick up the phone. Not that you should have a reason to pick up the phone. You should pick up the phone anyway. But if you need a reason, this is a wonderful one to do.
It might make you more comfortable to have a reason to pick up the phone. So
exactly.
What I think is great about this is, so you could have a bunch of gifts already kind of pre-orchestrated before. So you could go into Giving Tuesday saying, we've already raised X amount of dollars for Giving Tuesday for our organization. Help us hit our goal of whatever that dollar amount is. But once you kind of reached out to your lapsed donors, and maybe you do a similar thing with your current donors, the next thing for me, at least focusing on online stuff, is having that secondary ask in the background. That's like, okay, great. Thank you so much. We so appreciate your gift. Would you love to double or triple it by doing an online fundraiser via Facebook for us? Because we know that Facebook in the past, we can't guarantee what they're going to do this year, but in the past, Facebook has definitely shown up during Giving Tuesday to recoup the costs that they usually charge for credit card processing and things like that. So that's a great follow-up to say, well, you could also triple your gift if you do a fundraiser for $100 and try to get your friends to give. So there's so many ways to kind of piggyback then on that initial contribution. Or if they say, well, we just can't give at this time, well, that's totally fine. We understand, but would you mind then doing this? So it kind of has a way of still generating funds for you, even if you get a no.
It's such a great point. This gives you continuous opportunities to have them say yes to something.
Yes.
So you never want them to say, no, I'm not interested. They're probably interested in something. They picked up the phone. They know who you are, and they know that you're trying to ask for money. So whether they can do fundraisers for you on your behalf, right, without necessarily, giving all of the gifts that they could give, but they could go out and get their friends and give $20 a piece, get 5 friends, it's $100, and that's an easy win. But what you also said was interesting is that you could double or triple. This is a wonderfully great opportunity to reach out to really awesome supporters of yours or individuals who may be having the capacity to give a ton of money or a little bit more than others, and then collect a matching gift pool. Yep. People love that to get their gifts matched. And if you had, let's just hypothetically, let's use $1,000, right? Depending on the size of your organization, 1,000 might be a lot. If you have 2 or 3 donors who would be willing to pool their money together as a matching gift challenge, now you can go back to your last year, but not this year donors and saying, hey, we've done our due diligence to go reach out to some of our most fantastic donors, and they have given us $1,000 to match your gift dollar for dollar up to that amount. Would you consider giving? Now you've got a reason, in addition to just supporting your great cause, a reason to like, oh, okay, well, now my money is quote unquote doubled. Well, now if they go and do a fundraiser on their behalf or your behalf, and they raise maybe $200, that means that 200 turns into 400. They feel extra awesome about themselves. And now you know that about that donor. So when the event is done, you can say, hey, I just want to let you know that your $200 Facebook campaign that was matched dollar for dollar up to, the $200 became $400. And that's what this did in your community because of you. Mm-hmm. So you have taken somebody who may not have given to you yet this year. You've activated them because you've encouraged through a matching gift challenge or given them an alternative to just giving you money alone and having their friends to be on board. Because again, that third party endorsement is really important. And then you get to turn around and say, your efforts were not only doubled, but this is what happened. The impact that you made was this program got expanded, or you fed these people, or you housed these people, or you saved and rescued these puppies. You can go right back to them and say, your gift did this. It's amazing.
And I think that quick turnaround of like, I gave money and then now this happened, like that good feeling, especially around the holidays, just like escalates. And who knows then, with the annual giving appeal letter or year-end appeal letter, like what that could potentially turn into. And to your point, we don't know why they didn't give this year. Was it because they didn't have the funds? Was it because we didn't reach out to them? Was it because we didn't have a compelling enough story? So, it's not too late to kind of be that organization that is really upfront, honest, and sharing kind of all of the amazing things that you're doing.
Exactly. I want to go. Exactly. And it's going to force you to sort of come up with, hey, this dollar amount is going to do this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have that at the ready, if somebody comes up to you and asks you, hey, what does $100 do to your organization? If you don't have that at the ready, well, how are you going to justify making an ask? Well, this event and this sort of online giving platform and this encouragement globally is going to force your hand into really monetizing some of the awesome impact that you're making. And now you can use that same talking point for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to go back to something you mentioned at the beginning briefly, which was like, what's the purpose? Is it brand awareness? Is it money? What is it? And so I think the other beauty behind Giving Tuesday is just using whatever you can, like getting people to get as many people in the door, even if it's a $1 donation or a $5 donation, so that you can build that base of new donors that you can continue to nurture and make happy. So kind of what are your thoughts on really the process for how you go around? Why are you doing this? And what are your goals? Because there can be multiple different goals for this kind of an event.
I usually go with two, and that just to simplify it, it's friend raising or fundraising. Mm-hmm. So if it's friend raising, don't ask for a lot, just ask for a little just to get involved and give them that sort of Sally Struthers-like amount of money. The $1 a day helps, whatever. Yeah. And that's really for cultivating individuals to get on your mailing list so that they fall in love with your organization a little more than just a love at first sight moment, right? A lot of people who give on giving days are doing it in the heat of the moment. They don't necessarily know everything about what you do, but you'd love to tell them. And you just don't have a lot of time, or you don't know who is in your donor database or in your supporter groups that would be interested in knowing a little bit more. Well, if somebody gives you money, that is a fiscally, it's a fiscal way of saying, hey, I'm interested in what you do, or I like what you're doing. That's giving you then permission to, hey, thanks. This is what your gift has done, to begin that donor relationship. So if it's a little bit of amount, it might be a test gift. I don't know what these people do with my money, but I'm going to give them a little bit because I like their video. I like their story. I like the ask, whatever the case may be. This gives you then an opportunity to follow up, ask some pointed questions, some really good and interesting probing questions on why they gave in the first place. And if they seem like a good fit, maybe a coffee date, maybe a Zoom call, whatever, to build that rapport for a larger gift down the road. Now, if your only purpose is to fundraise, well, now you get into that matching gift component. Now you can be very purposeful with reaching out to some of your sponsors to say, hey, maybe you want to sort of build momentum through the day and activate some people who haven't been really interested in what you did. Well, get a sponsor to donate their gift on that day to help you raise your goal or keep building momentum. So there's a ton of different unique ways. Or, having a mini event or a something-a-thon that helps sort of create another mode of momentum that you can go back to your donors and say, hey, listen, we're doing this. We want you to join. That fear of FOMO is a very palpable thing that you want to get involved, and especially on social media with people who follow and like you and want to hear more about the content that you make.
Well, and that's the beauty of Giving Tuesday is I think setting some sort of goal for your organization for that day and having that time sensitivity, that urgency. So people are like, okay, we got to get it done on this day. I also think that getting those plans in place as soon as possible, because it is right after Thanksgiving. Yeah. And so you don't want to be making those asks and having conversations that week when kids are home from school, families are, it's just Thanksgiving is a stressful, emotional holiday. Yeah. And so I think the sooner the better that you can get these plans in place and have everything locked and loaded so that way, that Monday after Thanksgiving, it's just some final follow-up calls. And then things are kind of rocking and rolling, can really help set you up for success.
Exactly. And then again, if it's something that the kids can help you with, if they're already home, right? This might be a really fun opportunity to get their kids involved in giving, right? Any way that you can get the family involved, well, then it becomes a family piece of pride. We're going to give this money that we would have normally spent on presents this year to this organization. And that's our gift to each other. What a wonderful a way to show somebody how much they care about them is giving in honor of a group that they both love, head over heels about. Mm-hmm. So that's a really fun way to do it. But again, more to your point, do all of the work you possibly can prior to the day so you can enjoy what you see coming through rather than stressing about how much that you're not raising because you never set clear goals and your expectations were too crazy and you really didn't talk to anybody about this. And you're just hoping that people find you on the internet, which I don't know if you've noticed lately, the internet is very huge and it's hard to find people and to make sure that you are, the cream to the crop, right? Cream to the top. You want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to have people talk about your organization or post about their gifts that they have made so that there's this organic build in content throughout the interwebs that allow other eyeballs to go, well, I didn't know you supported this organization. I'll click here and see what they got going on.
So let's talk about that a minute, because it's all about making it easy for the people that you're asking to do the action to take that action. So prior to even having these conversations or kind of once you've figured out, well, this is what our goals are, this is what we want to have happen, this is what we're going to communicate, creating those assets for folks so that when you do have those conversations, it's like, hey, will you do a Facebook fundraiser for us on Giving Tuesday? Here's the images, here's the copy, here's everything you need. Like that's critical, I think, to your point of how do we separate ourselves from other organizations that are doing this so that people support us or choose to support us.
Yes. And being able to use and reuse that content going forward. I think a lot of people will use Giving Heart or Giving a Tuesday here as an opportunity to like, okay, we're going to try something new. Well, that's great. I love that. But a lot of organizations will use that same talking point, the same messaging, and the same things they're funding for their end of year appeal, which comes a little bit later in December. Well, now you're talking about the same thing for a longer period of time. And as you know, in the marketing world, how many times do you have to hear something over and over and over again to have it stick into your brain? Right. So it's like 20 something. So if you are continuously raising funds for the same thing, that message that you're using on Giving Hearts Day can be the same message you use on end of year appeal or your last second letter or your social media going forward. It's just taking the Giving Tuesday logo off. It's putting yours back on. It's doing like, it's a lot easier to create one thing and then use it in multiple different places, which is talking about the same thing too. And then you're not confusing anybody. And that's a really fun advantage to play around with Giving Tuesday. Or like I said earlier, this is a really fun and easy way to experiment with something that you didn't know would work. And you use Giving Tuesday as an experiment to some of your talking points, to some of your artwork, to some of your programs that you might have need to fund or that are underfunded. So you can take it either way. And that is the advantage of being creative and using some of these online assets and then providing them to your donors and supporters is you can have fun with it. You'll be purposeful with it. And it just depends on what direction you want to go.
Okay, so I think this entire podcast could be summed up in what you just said. And I don't want to gloss over this because I think you said two huge things. So I want you guys to listen. Number one, try something new, see what happens. Don't be afraid if it fails or it doesn't. This is a short-term campaign, and no matter what, you're going to learn something about what your audience likes or doesn't like. So that alone, genius. But I think the more important thing that you said was people need to hear things over and over again and use the same campaign over and over again and just add the Giving Tuesday or add the year-end appeal. So people are saying to themselves, well, then I'm saying the same thing to my audience and they're going to get bored and they're going to say, well, we already heard this and now we're going to not have anything new. And people are going to be frustrated with us that we're sending the same message. Thoughts on that? I know my thoughts, but I'd just love for you to really drive this point home because I think it's crucial.
Okay. First of all, I've never experienced a donor going, this is the same thing you fundraise for all the time. Yes, that's what your organization does, is fundraises for this thing. So yeah, you have to do the same thing over and over again. You have to talk about it. Now, if you are very worried about that, then change the impact stories, change the names of the people and the things that you're doing to impact. It doesn't change the ask. It just changes. And another person or another family was positively impacted by the same thing that we're funding over and over again. Please know that we say this with love. Repeat, because it's the organizations that get really confusing when every 5 minutes they get tired of not waiting for something to hit, yes, or they don't get enough likes and then they change the messaging and it becomes utterly confusing to the supporters and donors who casually follow you. Your hardcore supporters might understand it, but the majority of your casual observers are going to go, what the hell are you guys doing now? What is this?
Yes.
Get consistent. And here's the thing. This is one of my favorite things that was ever taught to me about anything marketing is the minute you are bored with the messaging, everyone else is just catching on.
I was just going to say that. Yes, that's one of my favorite lines too, because it's so true.
And it's so hard. I know listen, as somebody who has undiagnosed 3-letter things going on at all times, I understand the absolute need to change at a moment's notice. I have an entrepreneur brain. I go to like 90% of things and I go, I'm bored with that. The only thing that you should be sticking with is your messaging. Do not give up on what you do and the importance of your impact. And don't give it up for doing something that's super cool and awesome at the moment and forego really what got you here in the first place and what people love about your organization. Hammer that home. Again, you can use a Giving Tuesday logo and an end of year logo as far as sort of sprucing things up, but keep the message the same. Damn it.
I love it. And I want you to maybe, if this point doesn't stick in your head and you're like, whatever, my audience listens to everything I say. Number one, you're in denial. But number two, just think about yourself. And pay attention to how many times, I know this comes up in conversation in our family all the time. Like, oh, hey, I just saw this TikTok. I couldn't tell you the name of the person, but it was like about this. Like, you remember the context. You remember the way that it made you feel, but you don't remember the super specifics of the detail. Or like, hey, I just saw this ad on Facebook for this thing that I really want to try out. And now I can't find it. And you literally can't find the product anywhere. You try to search for it and you can't figure it out. This happened to me the other day when I was trying to buy a new backpack because I found one that I really loved and then I remembered the features, but I couldn't remember the rest of it for the life of me. So if you just start to kind of pay attention to that in your brain as you maneuver through just your consumerism, you'll realize you're not being beat over the head with things. You don't remember the specifics. So the more that you talk about the same messaging, the better it, and like you said, the clearer it is. You don't want to look like an organization that is changing every 5 seconds.
There's a reason why the world goes up in arms when somebody like a Coke or a Pepsi or a Nike changes something about what they did.
Right.
Because they're like, what on earth is this? What are they doing? It's because this is what they do, right? And so any deviation from it, the world goes bonkers, and they only talk about the change. They don't talk about the product, right?
Right.
The reason they're consistently the Fortune 1 or 10 companies is because they don't change the narrative, right? How long has "just do it" been a Nike slogan?
Right.
Forever.
Right.
It didn't stop when Michael Jordan retired. It continued when LeBron James took over as that. Like, it hasn't changed. So it regardless of who is at the head, the messaging and your the pitch on your impact doesn't.
So
put a little bit of flair on it. Yeah.
Well, let's bring this back to Giving Tuesday, because I think the beauty of this is that you don't need to create a completely separate campaign. Like what you're saying is really just making it easier. So it's more just about, okay, so we want to raise X amount of dollars, or we want to bring X amount of new people into our world during Giving Tuesday. Here's the mechanisms we're going to do it. We already have the messaging all pulled together. Let's just figure out how to communicate it to our donors. Let's pull some reports from our lapsed donors and give them an easy way to re-engage with us. And so it really takes the complexity out of what Giving Tuesday is.
And what's the biggest hurdle that fundraisers have is that they make life too complicated.
Yeah.
They're trying to come up with the brand new thing when really it's about storytelling and aligning somebody with, if they really like what you do, and then it's making an ask. Those 3 things are the only thing you should be doing in storytelling. And so going back to Giving Tuesday, what are you doing? You have a new platform to tell a story and find people who are aligned, and you give them a way to give. That's it. That's fundraising in a nutshell. And again, anyone who's trying to make it more complicated or telling you that it's they're liars, because that's really what you need to do is tell stories. Make sure the person you're chatting with is aligned. Make an ask.
And the only thing that I would add to that in this particular situation is make it easy for them. Like, the ask isn't just about the dollar, but make it easy for them to share it. Yes. And make it simple for them to handhold, give them the graphics, make it super easy. I feel like we could talk about some of this stuff all day long.
Yes.
But I want to make sure that you guys get off this episode and go start to put the things together and just get it done. You could get it.
And here's the thing. If you are getting off this podcast, you're like, okay, what do I need to do now to get ready for Giving Tuesday? Run your last year, but not this year list. People who gave to you last year, who haven't given to you yet this year. That's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is make a social media post that has the Giving Tuesday logo on it with the other stuff that you've been talking about this entire year, or call Sammy and she'll help you out on this. We should probably do first is call her there first. And then start making phone calls to say thank you to donors and saying, we can't wait to participate in Giving Tuesday. We hope you can join us. That's the 3 things you can do now, so that when you get closer to Giving Tuesday and it seems like you're turning a corner with momentum building, switch it up, ask for some major gifts, get some money in advance, get some pledged gifts, have people do campaigns. But the simple thing is get your list, build your materials, and start making phone calls.
I love it. Okay. And I think really just making sure you have your goals set. That's the only other thing you didn't add in there. Make sure you know exactly what your goals are, so you know what your target is. And because nonprofits are also notoriously bad at celebrating their wins. So that way it gives you something to celebrate and feel good about.
Exactly. Love it.
Anything else about Giving Tuesday, Patrick, that you want to make sure to throw out there?
Have fun with it.
Yes.
That's another thing. Like, hey, again, this is not going to make or break your budget. If it does, you've got some serious issues. But have fun with this. This is another opportunity that you have to reach out to donors, to talk with donors, to celebrate a big win, to get people involved, and to tell your story. And that right there is super fun. If you don't think that's fun, well, then I think you might be in the wrong business.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. Patrick, if people want to find out more about you and your business, how do they do that?
Sure. You can go to dogoodbetterconsulting.com and find all of our fun stuff there and what we got going on, and free trainings and free videos and a whole bunch of downloadable stuff. Or find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at Fundraising Dad. I think we're on Instagram at Fundraising Dad. I think we're on TikTok at The Fundraising Dad. I think we do TikToks now. So we're all over the place. Find us on LinkedIn. Say hi. Got any questions? Drop a line and you'll find us. We're all over the place.
Well, Patrick, thank you so much for joining me. I always appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights. And again, make sure you check out the show notes. We'll link up some additional episodes, including the one that Patrick was on before about making an ask, which might also help you with his task list for you for Giving Tuesday. And we'd love to hear what campaigns you guys have. So make sure you tag us both in that so we can help shout you out as well.
I love it. Hey, thanks again for the ask for being on. Always an awesome time.
Yeah, of course. And we'll see you on social media. We'll have to check you out on TikTok. You're braver than I. Thank you to Patrick. I always love having conversations with him around fundraising. It's so much fun to kind of really create the online, offline experience for folks. So I hope that you'll do the easy steps that he mentioned, take action, and get your Giving Tuesday campaign off and running. I can't wait to see what you come up with. But for now, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on a single episode. Hit us up at The First Click Marketing on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll see you in the next episode.